about obstacles and how I deal with them. We can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we react to what happens to us. So this poem is called Crawling Up. Crawling up from the wreckage daily. A life of crawling up from the crater, from the dent, from the depths, from the flames, from the edge, from the bottom, from the awful emptiness. Crawling up my spine into my mind, crawling up from the grave, from the waves, from the bane of sadness surrounding me, drowning me, crawling up daily, unwavering away to escape from the pain, from the way that they break me down. Crawling up for the light, for the fight, for the slight pinhole diamond shining through the lazy hues of the vast expanse of the endless night. Crawling up over the lip and down the dune, through the ruins, from the dust and savage sand to the next craggy shaft of soggy loam. Slipping back, down the sludge, gripping with fists coated in stinking mud. Crawling up and digging in, spirit split, splintered needles chipped and thin. A pause, to reclaim my breath, to punish these dreams of quiet surrender, to remember that I do not stop. I don't give up, I don't give a fuck, I don't give in. So I begin, again, crawling up, crawling out, crawling away, over the moaning bones of those who chose to quit and remain. Thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Woo!
Thank you very much. Does anybody have this book at all? Do you guys know it?
Fucking ain't right.
All right, do you have any?
Crawling.
Oh, it's
But-
calling us. Okay, good. Well, that just
Let me see.
I'm glad that we got that one on. Hey, I got one. Since, you know, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to politics lately, but
Yeah.
government, right? So we have this Republican Congress who is shutting down the government over something that they cannot control. Do you guys remember those old cartoons, like when you were a kid? I'm just a bill.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that? Okay, that's how things become a law. Well, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, whatever you want to call it, that's a law now. And it's like they're revolting against giving people health care. It just makes no sense whatsoever.
Which is already passed.
Which is already passed, and it's a law. The Supreme Court has received its challenge. They said it's okay. It's a law. So why are you holding up the government? Why are you refusing to pay government employees who won't get back pay? They just won't get paid.
That's me.
You know? Okay, see, you're being held up because these people are just being stranglehold by a very small contingency called the Tea Party, who really have no other, they have no other goal except to try to make President Obama's presidency just difficult.
Mm-hmm.
They're the worst Congress I've ever had. They haven't passed any bills. They've done nothing. So, if I can find a poem, I would like to read something that reminds me about of what they're doing and why they're doing it. I mean, I think they thought people would reject it, and I don't think they really understand how difficult it is out there for working class people, not for rich folks like all the members of Congress, but working class people, how difficult it is to choose between health care and car payments, health care and rent, health care and food. I mean, you know, they don't have to worry about that. They have health care. Guess who pays for it? We do.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that right before the Affordable Care Act went into effect, when people who were uninsured went to the ER and they couldn't pay for it, taxpayers still pay for it, but it's like triple the rates. So we were still paying for uninsured health care people, but insurance companies and giant, you know, corporate medical facilities were still getting paid. And that's what the big fight is about. It's them not wanting to give up all the money that they're going to lose now. In the end, it's going to work out better for everybody, but this is just a silly, silly obstacle we have to overcome. I wrote this during the Occupy Wall Street movement, and because a lot of people didn't understand what was going on. I don't think a lot of the Occupy Wall Street people even knew what was going on, or why they were occupying. Everybody just had so much pent-up frustration. They just wanted to do something, to be a part of some kind of movement that they felt like was doing good. But there was a voice, and there was a clear sort of standard that they all tried to get behind, which is working class people. And I'm working class. I come from the working class. We stayed an underground band for 10 years because I don't want to ever forget my roots and not, you know, stay true to that. So This is called This Is Why We Occupy. This is why we occupy. Because our country is broken. Because we care enough to at least try to shine a light on, or at least try to fix it. This is why we occupy. Because we believe all are created equal. Because they continue to perpetuate and legislate inequality among the races, sexes, orientations, creeds, and beliefs. Because they want to silence free speech and diminish our civil liberties. Because we believe in the Bill of Rights. Because we don't believe anything, including religion, supersedes the Constitution. I'm going to say this is why, you say we occupy. This is why
we occupy.
Because our government pursues economic policies that only benefit the rich. Because we believe in separation of corporation and state. Because the average CEO's salary exceeds the amount their corporation pays in income tax. Think about that. The average CEO's salary exceeds the amount they pay in income tax. Because the 49% of Americans live below or behind the poverty line. That's almost 150 million Americans, which is more than the population of the United Kingdom, France, Greece, and Switzerland combined. Because they continue to cut welfare for hungry people, but pour billions more into corporate welfare using our tax dollars. This is why
we occupy.
Because we want decent jobs, economic opportunities, and affordable health care. Because they want to destroy the working class and create a new caste system of dependent peasants. Because our air is toxic and our water is foul. Because they rail against nationalized health care while using nationalized health care to help their families and loved ones stay healthy. Because we are impatient. Because we are sick of waiting for the corrupt to fix themselves. We may be clumsy, but at least we're trying. This is why
we occupy.
We get together. Because they send brave men and women of the armed forces to fight unnecessary wars. Because 59%, $550 billion of our national budget is spent on the Defense Department, while 2% is spent on justice, agriculture, and energy, and 6% on education and health. And the rest just dissipates in bureaucracy. This is why
we occupy.
Because most of us are patriots, parents, students, veterans. We are the hearts and hands of this nation. This is why
we occupy.
Because the average income of the top 1% has gone up by more than 250%. Because the incomes of average Americans have fallen by 6%. Because they fight to protect high-end tax breaks for the wealthy and do nothing to prevent tax increases for 160 million average Americans. This is why
we occupy.
Because they use religion to excuse their cruelty. Because they cherry-pick the Gospels to suit their debauchery, Matthew 19:24. Because the banks can rob the world and it's legal, but a hungry man robs a bank and he's a felon. Because they claim to love the free market, but fight to support monopolists. This is why
we occupy.
Because we, the people, didn't get a bailout. Because they blame our generation for the failures of this nation when they're the ones who raised us. Because they know, we know, it's inconvenient, and they're trying, and we are trying to change the world. This is why
we occupy.
Thank you very much. Good job, guys. That was bad. That was great. All right. Last one, and then they're going to kick us out of here. Another little political one, but this is a little personal politics for me. I was sitting in a little coffee shop and doing some writing, and I got an alert on my phone, and it was at 9 minutes and 11. It was 9 o'clock and 11 minutes. 9:11. And it said, U.S. Armed Forces have killed Osama bin Laden. And I screamed, woo! And everybody in the coffee shop turned around and looked at me like I was crazy. I didn't think they got the alert this way. But I sat down immediately and I wrote this poem. Now, just some background so you can understand some of the imagery in this. He was shot in the eye, right? And then he was dropped in the sea. Which I think is a perfect, gigantic fuck you to somebody like that. He can never, no one can ever swim out into the Mediterranean and lay flowers on this fucker's grave. He is at the bottom of the sea, food for hagfish at this point. Oh, and the other thing I want to mention is that his name is pronounced Usama, not Osama. That's a trick to get everybody to confuse President Obama, right? If you say Usama, you'll never confuse it with Obama. That's why, again, language, the words we use, are so very, very important. So, Usama, seasick, shot, in the dark, in the ocular cavity. Dual missiles fired into the towering skyscraper of a man made of ego and filth. Shattered glass, gunpowder burning through the drapes of tissue, breaking the chassis of your damaged body, crumpled like the twisted steel of ground zero. Fractured bone and ribbons of meat, fear spearing your heart in the violence of the lonely, lonely dark. Eyes that once cloaked the world with hate, blinded by the razors of arrogance now punched in and bloodied, pink meat and scorched bone. Eyes that once saw visions of the prophet, that once saw millions in post-war apocalyptic profit. Eyes that swallowed the camera, that bugled your message. Eyes that once hypnotized, now thickened into beefy oysters. Rotting and stained, the last image burned onto the mirror of your eye lens is the flash of an American-made death machine, created in your honor. Empty eyes staring out as they wrapped you in plastic, stars and stripes waving over the rubble of you and the crusted black punctures where your eyes once were. Now, witness nothing. Sunk at sea, the dragon anchored in the deep. Food for hagfish, sucking skin, brittle bone to coral reef, lost in the echo of Babylon. Ashes to splashes, dust to rust, we say with all due disdain, fuck you, you died a footnote. And we cheered, and we danced, and welcomed amnesia for the death of a cowardly devil. Fuck you, footnote. Fuck you forever. Thank you.
Woo! Woo! Yeah!
Thank you guys very much for coming. I really, really appreciate it. We're going to give you guys are all sticking around for the show.
Oh, yeah.
Great! I want you to be loud. We're going to have a good fucking time. Thank you guys for coming. And I'll see you guys later. All right. Thanks. Knuckle up on it.